Hey, great to see everybody here. Lots of familiar faces, some new faces, and lots of energy from every conversation I've had. So we're very excited to just roll this back. I think it was exactly a year ago that Jason and I did this tour to just kick off this idea, and now it's very real. So what is this Circles about? And the construct we want to start with is a very business-centric construct, which is the way businesses operate has two sides of the same coin, we believe. One is around their world as individuals to maximize individual return, right? And it's a very competitive framework. You can collaborate, but it's always, you have so many antitrust issues, and you have Europe, and you have all of these things where, you're doing things together, what are you guys up to? Is always the skeptical story that kind of overshadows that. But the larger world, and you saw Jason share some of those numbers, I was adding them up, that's kind of close to $1 trillion of annual loss, is the world we call the world of common risk. And the interesting part of that world, because these risks are become so large and so huge, that governments, everybody says, gives you a free hand, a blank check, as companies to say, work together. This is too large for us as government to solve. This is too difficult for communities to take ownership and change their futures. And we expect companies to work together. And that's the context of collective action, is really collaborate and work together completely transparently, completely openly. That's the world of common risk. And as we've approached this as IIT-IIT, and we're very much a technology-driven organization, it's taken us 7 years to get to this point where we finally have a platform to work in the world of common risk, and we call that the collective action circles. So we've designed this, and again, it's not something that happened. It literally, we had to connect dots, and in our own journey, we've had our own board members and others saying, what are you guys actually trying to do? You're doing this and you're doing that. And I really thank many of you in the room today. Y'all have shaped that journey. You've helped us in pieces of it. And we're very appreciative that it's come together. And so how do collective action risks circles help that? Is firstly, they create these areas of collective action. And we've designed this around where people are already working without necessarily recognizing that others are working there. And so we've designed these 42, and they represent different basins, different states. Together, these 42 collective action circles represent about 150,000 square kilometers, right? It's almost 80% of Karnataka's area as a state. It's 2 times the Kaveri Basin's area as a basin, right? So this is a large number what they represent collectively. They can be represented in a state context, a basin context, a district collector context. And so across these circles, that's what it represents from the context of the different basins, 17 in Ganga, 15 of them in the Yamuna, Satluj 2, Godavari 7, Vetarana 1, Krishna 6 in Kaveri, and 3P9. And this allows it to directly link to the 100 Basins program, because it's a narrative of the basins as well, even though it's captured in the context of the circles. So to give you an illustration of yesterday, we had a great meeting yesterday, where HCL Tech works, and they're the champion, the CEO Water Mandate champion for the Yamuna Basin, and they've committed to work more specifically, not just across the basin, but on 10 of the circles to shape the collective action momentum that's happening in 10 of those circles. Because they see the value of the broader basin narrative, but also the bottom-up adding up of the circle narratives to also represent that. So there's a top-down story. And I was just pointing out to Jishnu when I saw Jason's slides that you have the green and the blue and the white. And the white is that top-down, bring it together. And the green and the blue is exactly what we have in each circle. You have some of these circles representing solutions that are, and they look like circles. And that's what I pointed out to Jason. I said, hey, he's got our circles in there. And that's great. And they represent solutions that could be part of a basin, some solutions that are part of many basins. And then the white part is important. And that's what HCL Tech recognized. And they said, help us with the white as well, because the story of your circles brings up to the Yamuna. right? But we also want to commit with you in the circles. We recognize the value of committing in the circles and collaborating with you in the circles. And an interesting part of what happened yesterday, and again, we've had conversations, is many partners have said, we are working at a broader level, but we can work with you, and let's bring out the stories of the circles. And you'll see some of that come out over the course of this year. Corporates. So these circles were designed around where these companies are investing. 92 companies have been mapped in this circle, and that's by no means everybody who's there, but it's who we've been able to map. And so their stories, each of them has their own objective in that circle. They have not come there because we created the circle. We created the circle because they are there. We created the circle because they're investing there. And so we were able to kind of capture the collective momentum of 92 companies in our circles, right? And more than 50 of them are going to be at our events across the 3 days. And 12 solutions, right? So it's a platform, it's a technology, and I'll show you how it works in terms of how it brings these things together seamlessly as tech. And to just give you again a perspective, so today is covering, yesterday we covered the Ganga, which is the north. Today we have the south, which is the bottom of the Krishna and largely the Kaveri and the 3P. And then tomorrow we have a large part of the Godavari and the top part of the Krishna being covered. So that's the visual of these 92 companies, right? And again, we've assessed a lot of them with them. This is based on public data. This is where they have their operations. This is where we understand that they're investing. Some of them are understated. We don't have it fully. But 26 of them are in more than 5 circles. This is their strategic investment. AB InBev, who's a host of ours today, is in 6 of those circles, right? And so this is their interests being represented across India. When we've mapped it the other way, so for example, HCL Tech circles, across the circles as 55 companies. So suddenly they have a voice in their circles to 55 companies without having to go anywhere else. Similarly, AB InBev, if I'm not mistaken, is somewhere in the high 40s or early 50s. 100 Plus, which is their partnership with other brands, has a representation of more than 60 companies. So now working in their own circles where one of their organizations or their own operations has an interest, they have a direct voice to the companies in those circles. They have a direct voice to the states that those circles are in. They have a direct voice to the basin the circles are in. They have a direct voice to the district they're in. Not alone, but with multiple others in their circle. And that's how the circle helps them represent themselves in a bigger context. And that's just giving you an example. So this is an example, and we're using this as just the sample example. This is part of the Upper Godavari. This is Sri Sambhaji Nagar. And these are the organizations that are there, right? And so the circles also are dynamic. They start with a very core 2,000 square kilometers, a 25 kilometer radius starting point. But they grow. As people mature, they will grow. And that's just showing you how they become 4,000 square kilometers. So over time, they will have their own life as they have momentum and they're delivering. And so it's very driven from an actionable standpoint, that we see results in that circle, people can celebrate the results, and they can expand over time in terms of what that circle can represent. The second thing that the circle has to do is to represent solutions. And so every solution is mapped to every circle, right? And it may have different relevance, and it may have different points of maturity, but that's the beauty of, again, any solution in the room today will have relevance in one or more circles, and getting your solution represented is how your voice becomes part of a broader voice, but also a collective action voice in the circles. And so, for example, 2 solutions we are aware are fully live: rejuvenation of water bodies and growing green cover. Growing green cover is being presented tomorrow in Maharashtra. And then there are 4 others. Farmer Market Connect integration is being presented today, and it's going to go live in Aurangabad this year. Livelihood-based transformation is being presented today. It's going live in Maharashtra in this circle this year. We have the cotton package of practices, sorghum, water quality improvement, and the 100 Plus accelerator. So the 100 Plus is a very fascinating commitment across these brands to bring in tech solutions, and more than 100. And we're working with them to say, which solutions can we bring into India? And so some of those solutions will be represented in this circle as part of the plan this year. And some of the others are in different circles. Springshed, they presented yesterday, it's very much part of the upper Himalayas at scale. Sugarcane is again part of largely the Krishna, so it's circles in the Krishna, but also part of the Yamuna. Paddy package, we met with CI Foundation. They represent a huge program in the Sutlej, Punjab and Haryana, for the paddy package, and we're designing that with circles for them. Afforestation is also very relevant in this area, but it's a little bit more complex other than for some. So it's not planned for launch in this circle this year, but it's planned for launch in other circles this year. But the goal is every circle will get a sense of what all is possible. So there's choice for anyone in that circle to say, what do I want to pick from? The third thing the circle represents technologically is the community engagement status, right? And I've not shown you the details. It's very complex, but this is just where is at least one solution present. And and we've tried to keep this simple for the other corporates. So every corporate who looks at this says, someone's already working here and I want to capitalize and bring my solution to that area. Or there's nobody working here, at least from the collective action standpoint, and I'm happy to invest so that we cover the circle. And like that, there are several other footprints of community engagement, and you'll see some of that when I get into RWB, but that doesn't need anyone to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. That information is provided by the technology. Everybody can decide based on the insight of their circle, right? So whether it's who else is there that I should talk to, which is the first slide, whether it's what solutions can I pick from, or whether it's where are the people really working and where do I want to contribute, they're all answered. And I've just given you the high-level insight from the tech. But the tech does it at multiple levels, right? And that's the reason I'm calling it tech. It's there. We get one piece of data and we feed it into other contexts, right? And that's the beauty of tech, is that it just allows everyone to operate at a higher level. How many of y'all have been using ChatGPT? Right? Has it taken away the value that you bring to the table because it got automated? No. It allows you to operate at a higher level given what you're trying to do. And that's what we've tried to do with this. It's not to take away what people are doing, but allows them to operate decision-making at a higher level. This is our AI for the water sector, right? And we've taken a long time to figure this out, but we're very excited by what it represents. So anybody in this room, whatever you're doing, you can operate at a higher level because this gives you the underlying insights. Whether it's solutions you want to adopt, whether it's a solution you represent that you want to be added, whether it's a district administration you want to talk to and which circles are there and therefore who can you bring into your narrative, it's all available via the tech, right? But the goal of the tech is to elevate what you're trying to do, help you to value-added decision-making, help you to influence your clients, help you as a client to influence your choices, all of that. And that's the strategy that we've called, so that's the oh my, the oh my moment, that the aha for us is the circles are meant to be an oh my for everybody. What does that mean? Is each of you, no matter what you are, can decide for yourself your own plans. Be as selfish as you need to be, that this is what I'm bringing, because everything that you contribute is an addition. So what you want to do on your own, it's meant to empower you to say, here's what I want to do, here's what I want to act, and that's your own plan. And we can then work with you to represent that, at least in the circles that you're part of. But that's you, and that's your plans, and that's the whole purpose of OWN is you. The second thing that the circle does is then it multiplies that. It multiplies that across solutions, across communities, across donors, and you'll start to see this. The beauty of the solution model is it's not one thing for one purpose. The same solution is delivering livelihoods, delivering water, delivering agri, delivering soil, and that's what we call codification. And so you can look at it, and we've seen that. We've seen companies that are, and they're in the room today. AB InBev looks at it from a water standpoint, and we have, again, another very strong partner here, CA Grameen, the CA Grameen Foundation here. They look at it from a livelihood standpoint. It's the same solution. We've heard from Jason that WASH is a critical goal, 300 million people getting to WASH. WASH is delivered by rejuvenation of water bodies. And so the same solution delivers different goals. And so you can approach it depending on where you are coming from, right? But then it all adds up. And all of that intelligence is what Multiply does. It adds it up. So I understand what's it doing on wash, what's it doing on water accretion, what's it doing on soil. All of that gets part of the Multiply story. And then the most powerful, because you want your voices to be heard, is I. It's how do you intensify and add more? Whether you're taking that narrative to a district government, whether you're taking that to a state government, whether you're taking that to the other companies that are not yet joined you in the journey, that's what I does. And again, like an open AI platform, it will give you those narratives. It will tell you what are some of the big stories that you want to tell. And some of those narratives, to Jason points, get designed top down. So for example, in the Aurangabad circle we are working in, and it came in very late in the game, we had rejuvenation of water bodies, we were doing some other stuff, and then we've just brought in EcoSattva into the story, and they're working on the Kham River restoration. They have an MOU with the state government, and when we mapped the circle and everything that's going on, we said, all of this is actually contributing to that strategic project. And that's the story of this circle, is the Kham River restoration. And so that narrative is the narrative that's a primary narrative that can be celebrated for that circle, right? And that comes from a top-down perspective. And there's another circle that's in Nashik, which when Bhaumik was presenting yesterday, is part of the Upper Godavari, the Trimbakeshwar to Nashik. And we have a circle there. And the narrative there is the Upper Godavari story that is a focus. And so every circle will start to develop its own story. We have WWF presenting today. One of our circles represents the Arkavati, a section of the Arkavati River. So these circles can also develop a life in the context of a bigger narrative that together they are contributing a part of. And that becomes part of I, is what's the narrative that's really exciting that I want to sell? And that's also designed in the tech. So it doesn't need information that rolls up, it spits it out and says, here's how it supports narrative A, here's how it supports narrative B. And that's how everybody can leverage it in their context. And then finally, it has to represent the global picture. So we've been working very closely with the CEO Water Mandate. They're launching the entire Action Water Hub. And that becomes for us a key repository of a broader, bigger global story. And so how do we now represent what's happening here in India and all of these different places in that bigger story? And that's what we've been working with Jason and his team. And if you look at it, it's again small text, but their goal is around projects, and Jason shared projects. But we said, what happens if circles become projects? Then everything in that circle rolls up as a project. And then it was, circles become projects. Let's get the data by circles, share them as projects. And so we have the Yamuna basin there, and we have the circles of the Yamuna being projects that roll up for the story of the Yamuna, right? And sure, we'll have to make some tweaks on some of the kind of data, but the goal is how use tech to ensure that all narratives can be celebrated, can be enabled for each one of you in the room here. And that's what we've seen as our mission, is Restore Promise of Water needs an enabling technology that satisfies different purposes. And that's what we're very excited about, that it started to come together in a very powerful way. And that's what we call the collective action circles.